Hello and welcome to the E-commerce Leader Series podcast. This is a podcast. Oh, sorry, I'm going to start again because I got a. No, I don't. I'm not sure if it was recording properly. I'm going to start that again.
Take two.
Yeah. Welcome to the E-commerce Leader Series, the podcast dedicated to helping founders and senior leaders navigate the future of online retail with AI. I'm your host, Bryan Kinghorn, Head of Growth here at Wildcat AI. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by Doug Miller, who is the CEO at Wildcat Brothers Distilling, a leader in the distillery space, which we'll come on to hear a lot about shortly. So, Doug, thank you very much for being here. Before we dive into our main topics of conversation, would you mind just letting us know, let the listeners know a bit more about your background, yourself, and the business?
Sure, Brian. Thanks so much for having me. I always look forward to sharing our story with your listeners and such. Very unusual, maybe, pathway to leading a distillery. I have lived in the Houston, Texas area for about 30 years, and for most of that time, I was in the energy industry, specifically commodities trading around electricity and natural gas, and did not have any useful knowledge in the distilling spirits. And I always joke, people have this lottery dream. If I win the lottery, what am I going to do? And mine was always to work at a winery. I didn't care if it was going to be pushing brooms or what, but I'd become a little bit of a wine snob. And so that's where my passion somewhat led. And then in 2019, I was talking with one of my very good friends, and he said, Doug, I'm getting ready to change careers. And he had worked in the marketing field for 20 plus years. And he said, there's a dying distillery in my neck of the woods in Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana. They're about to go out of business. They make decent juice, but they're horrible in sales and marketing. I'm basically going to pick it up for $1. And he goes, I want you to come with me and help me do this. And I discussed it over with the wife. I said, I'm looking to do something a little more entrepreneurial. This isn't exactly what I had in mind, but let's give it a shot. And so we took over the company. We brought in some investors. We rebranded the company. We bought a bunch of equipment, bought oversized property, which was definitely a mistake on our part. And the first week that we're relaunching the company also happened to be the first week of COVID in 2020. Wow. So we had some challenges there, let's just say. So for 3 years, we were the proverbial duck, trying to be calm above the water, but really paddling to stay alive underneath the water. And then the last couple of years, we've kind of righted the ship, and we've started going back to our original business plan and focusing on our Louisiana markets. And in the last year, developed an e-commerce platform. So it's been an interesting learning period for sure. We've made a lot of mistakes. Hopefully we've learned from most of them, but sometimes that journey, that's when you look back at it, it's the fun part and you can laugh at it. But
exactly. I think that's a continuous thread. The mistakes will always be made. I think regardless of the size of business, I think that's always a thread. As long as you're learning from them, then
and you can stay alive.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's really interesting. As I said, before we started actually recording, Houston, Texas, and Lafayette, Louisiana is actually two places in the world that I've actually spent a bit of time over the years. So, that was awesome to hear when we first started chatting. And what was the reason behind the name, the Wildcat name?
So the original name, this goes back to telling you how bad of marketing the original owner was. The original name of the company was Rank Wildcat Spirits. Okay. And Obviously, he didn't understand in marketing, you don't use the word rank. Wildcat is an oil field term. Southern Louisiana, where we're based at, is a big oil area. And then me and my business partner are both fraternity brothers from university. And so we kept the Wildcat portion and just incorporated the fraternity brother aspect into the name.
Okay, nice, awesome. And so you touched on there that you have recently launched an e-commerce store.
Mm-hmm.
Where else are you sitting? Like, how does that distribution look across the business? Like, what's the different areas?
Right. So the biggest thing to remember with spirits brands is that we cannot sell direct to restaurants, retailers, bars, pubs, what have you. We have to go through a wholesale process. So here in the US, we've got a 3-tier system of supplier, wholesaler, user. And so we sell in our home state of Louisiana, but we also sell in other states too, specifically New York, Michigan, Kentucky, Georgia, and Florida. And we've been in a couple other places that didn't work out so well and have pulled back. We got a little bit over our skis in territory to cover when we were just struggling to stay alive. So now we've focused more on the states that continue to do well for us. But Louisiana is definitely the home. That's where we put most all of our marketing efforts into. And then, like you said, as far as e-commerce platform, we had tried, I guess it was about 3 years ago, putting our brands onto a third-party source. Yeah. They received product through our distributor in New York, but we didn't have any access or control over that. We gave them our marketing slicks, but then what they did with that, that was up to them. So we had no true control over messaging or targeting and such. About January of last year, we started working with a third-party organization, and we interviewed several. The one we ended up going with allowed us all sorts of flexibility, whether it was putting in discounts and shipping rates and adjusting prices. And, we get the nice dashboard with all sorts of data that we can cultivate and use to expand our reach. And then we can also pull that data into our own databases to include into our emails and whether text or what have you, targeted websites, posts and such. So that was really, really a good way for us to get our feet wet. We quickly learned, however, that just having an e-commerce platform is not automatically going to bring you sales. You still have to work at it.
Yeah, exactly. I just actually thought of a very important topic. A very important point that we haven't actually discussed yet. What kind of spirit is it that you make?
I was hoping you would get to that. So we make rum. And the reason why we make rum, we're in the Cajun country of Louisiana, as you know from being there. Yeah. And the Cajuns have a saying of use what you have. And what we have is, and I'm biased, but I'm going to say the world's best sugarcane is produced in southern Louisiana. Everywhere you look, there's sugarcane fields growing. And so we're able to source our product, specifically the sugarcane, within 50 miles of the distillery. So no importation. And because we're biased about the great cane, rather than using molasses as so many English style, Spanish style rums, Caribbean are made, we're using raw sugar. Now, some purists may say that's not a rum. I would tend to argue with them on that. But by doing so, we're getting some of the terroir that's coming off the land there, we're able to really tap into the great sweetness. And then as we make our product, there's no reason to add any chemicals or sweeteners or anything to it. So we're getting our ingredients close to home, and we're able to make a product free of any additives and sweeteners. And so that was really important to us.
Awesome. Well, next time I'm over, I'll definitely make a point of getting some when I'm there. So obviously, you can get.
Well, now you know someone, so you just come over and maybe we'll just open up a couple barrels for you.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Yeah, no, I definitely need to do that. So no, it sounds super interesting. So back to, I suppose, the business side, and as you've touched on, the e-commerce side, which can be a challenge. So on challenges. And I won't go into all the challenges you've encountered over the last few years, because I'm sure there's been many. But specifically on that e-com side, that's one of our areas of expertise. So what have been some of your early challenges in the e-commerce side? And that's a big question. I know you could go in so many different directions, but I would imagine there's some that are like top of mind that you've had encountered so far.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of funnel down on that a little bit. Because we are new to the industry, a couple of things that we as a company are very intentional about is we'll try something, we'll put it out there, and we're not afraid to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes and to educate ourselves as we go. So the first step, it was actually finding a platform that we thought was good. And that we spent about a year looking at different platforms to find out what we thought was good. I'm happy to report a year and a half later, we're still happy with that decision. But one of the challenges was once you get your products online, how do you attract customers to them? And so we're a small company. We have limited resources. I can't just throw a $25,000 marketing campaign out at something. There's times I'd like to throw a $2,500 marketing campaign out at something. So we have to get real creative. The first year we were able to capture a lot of data. And so that data included where was the platform sending our products. So, for example, you may type in a search for a luxury brand of purses, let's just say. Okay. Well, all of a sudden, the algorithm might push our product into that as a luxury rum. And so we didn't fully understand how all that worked, and we were able to track to see which types of websites secondary to the primary were able to get the most response back. And we kind of knew we were already a premium product. So the idea of going to discount houses or discount marketing wasn't going to be a good return on our investment. We kind of pride ourselves in being a white tablecloth type product, even though from a cost perspective, it's not priced that way, but it's certainly not priced in the discount level either. So understanding what pathways that was going to go certainly helped. Collecting data from who was purchasing the product, and not just the person, but the location. We were surprised to find that Texas was the largest purchaser of our product. We don't distribute it in the state of Texas. And so to find that, whether it was due to the close proximity of Texas to Louisiana or such, maybe it's just because of the large population, but we were able to see Texas, California was a big purchaser. Again, we don't distribute in California. So now we could take that information, and through our own social media channels, we could do geofence marketing in some of these areas where ideally someone had bought previously. So that's kind of where we are this year to see, well, was it just a one-time off on the first time, or what is there actually some brand penetration going on in the marketplace? And now we can take that information and then start to incorporate our own AI programs, which, as we talked before we came on the air, we were woefully behind on, and use that for deeper market penetration.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move into that then. So you've said that you're like woefully behind on AI. I suppose let's use, you as a business, the CEO on one hand, and then the business on the other hand. Like where I know you said you're woefully behind, but give me some examples about, are you using it at all? Are you not? Like, and if you are in some way, what have you been using so far? And then, by the way, we've had everything on this podcast. So this is guilt-free zone, wherever you are in that.
I get to have a safe space here, right?
Exactly. Totally safe space. Yeah.
So personally, I would rate my understanding very low. And quite honestly, part of that is because I leave the marketing and branding to my business partner, who came from more of a marketing standpoint. His use of AI, I would say, is probably not at a level that he would like to be using it, simply because as a small shop wearing a lot of hats, sometimes we're working on kind of the blocking and tackling the base blocks, and we don't always have enough hours in the day to build out some of the things that we would like to. What we would like to do is definitely use more AI in market penetration. One of the challenges that I see is people use AI just to use AI. Now, I see it a lot coming as a CEO of a company, but I'll be honest, when I see an AI generated email or text or something, it immediately gets deleted.
Yeah.
So how do I as a business owner, what am I looking for? Now, as I see good ideas, then I can take those to my business partner and say, hey, here was a good use of.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that. We also use AI a lot in our baseline marketing, whether it be label creation, whether it's social media, whether it's image producing.
Yeah.
And that's where the bulk of our AI use is right now.
No, that's Doug, that's fairly common as well for a business at your stage of AI utilization. It tends to be the marketing sort of area that's where it starts, and then it can obviously develop from there, depending on the scope and the need of the business. And I suppose one of the points you made there around wearing many hats is actually where AI can come in to actually help. So we talk about, as an example, Luca being your AI co-founder. And what we mean by that is, when you're a CEO or a founder of a business, you are wearing all these different hats at any given time. And it's difficult to, context switch you're context switching all the time, which is just the nature of being a founder or CEO. But treating AI as your right hand person or your co-founder. So the different areas of the business that you can utilize AI. There's obviously the marketing that we've discussed already. There's finances. Treat AI as a financial analyst, as a forecaster, as a budget planner. There is advertising. So if you are doing Google ads, marketing, meta ads, things like that, which I don't know the rules in Louisiana. I know in the UK there's some rules around what you can and can't do with alcohol, but analyzing where your wins are, where your losses are, where improvements can be made. There is supply chains, help that it can give you in regards to predicting, when you need to reorder, so the point being, you can have an AI tool for operations, finance, marketing, and everything, which can feel overwhelming because obviously right now you're not using much. So to then say, well, you can have AI to help, run your entire business feels like a big step.
Right.
But the point is, it can actually help with the many hats things because you've got a trusted companion that understands your business that can help. So yeah, but obviously there's lots of different areas that you can use AI, and marketing's a great place to start. So it's good that you've started there. So by the way, you're also well beyond many other businesses that you're even doing that. So you may say woefully behind. I wouldn't say you're woefully behind. I think there's definitely room for improvement and work that you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's as you said, there's so many different AI emails and messages out there. But you can use AI to help. You don't have to use it to write every word of an email campaign. You can help it give you ideas or structure how you do campaigns. You can use it to help with strategy call. There's lots of different ways that you can utilize it. Getting started is the key thing.
I guess one of the things that I have used it most on is in any sort of correspondence that I have, just trying to be more to the point and a clearer presentation of what I'm trying to say, taking out colloquialisms and such, just being more concise, which has helped. But I'm kind of going to take over your podcast for a second here. I think what you just said is exactly what scares most business owners. There's 1,001 different ways you can go, and yes, maybe we all have a little bit of a introduction. My daughter is coming home from a study abroad program today, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And
Nice.
she's using AI during her trip to plan out some of the things that she wanted to do. There's just so many different uses for it. But when you you can't do everything you want to do, and you have to prioritize, and the financial software now starts to use AI to help with some of that information that you just said. Certainly inventory control and such, that's something we haven't really tackled very well. But again, as a small company, we have pretty good understanding of where our inventory is and such. But what is the easy building block that maybe someone like me, who's a little bit nervous on technology at times, can get an easy win and start to feel more comfortable?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, first, before I answer your question, where was your daughter? Where was she?
She was in the Netherlands.
Oh, nice.
She's
awesome.
in Amsterdam.
Cool. Not too far from where I am in London.
No, just over the drink.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose this is a example of, we had this conversation with a client we onboarded recently who was in a similar situation to you and had the same overwhelming feelings in regards to, okay, AI can help me with all these different things. What we tried to encourage her to do was narrow down and funnel down, as you so well put earlier, where is the biggest headache that you've got right now? And in her respect, it was in the finances, just understanding the finances behind her business better. She had a very good base knowledge, but there was gaps in her knowledge, and she was honest and open with us enough to say that. So that's where we started. We started with her on understanding the figures and the finances behind her business as a first place to start. And as you say, all the accounting software right now has AI built in. And then when you also combine that with pooling information from your your Shopify or your, whatever e-commerce platform you're using, as well as your accounting software and your, marketing software, and you've pulled all these things in up front. The AI has all your information, understands where to start. So then if your particular area of assistance you require, as an example, is finances, it has the bigger picture, understands before we start drilling into the nitty-gritty of it. So my advice, and I'm not saying yours would be finances, but I'm saying, where is the area that you either feel like you're spending too much time on it, you feel like there's too much admin involved in it, or it's something you just don't understand enough within your business? That's probably where you start. And then we take it from there. Like, okay, in Doug's case, it is the finances. Okay, well, obviously we don't have to do it on a podcast, it's so public. But that's where we would start. And I'm not saying you have to talk to us about this, but any, person you have an AI discussion with would be able to, have these conversations with you and understand where is the opportunity or where isn't. Like, we're not going to say to somebody to use AI somewhere that's not going to actually, make a tangible difference to their business. That's what we're trying to ensure, is that they're using it to make a tangible difference to their business or their life within their business, which ultimately impacts on the business anyway.
I think as a founder of a small company, time is not our ally.
Yeah.
And the more time spent in front of a computer screen rather than in front of customers, it is so detrimental to a company. You can't be making money if you're not showing your product and all that. So the idea of using AI to streamline so many of, as you say, the very heavily taxed systems that you have, to clean that up. If I could save a day doing a little bit, that's another day I can get out into the field. That's X amount of cases I can sell. That's X amount of customers I can see, which in a sense could pay for the investment within the AI.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the mindset to have, is, if your goal is to grow your business, which I assume it is, I'm sure it is.
I hope to.
Yeah, exactly. If your goal, it's amazing how many people don't have that goal, by the way. Most people do if you're a business owner, but if one of your goals is to grow the business, then identifying that you need to be in front of customers more. So then, okay, well, how do I get in front of customers more? I'm spending all my time on these, time-consuming tasks, admin processes. Well, that's the opportunity. What can we do with those particular processes and tasks to help streamline them, to free up your time to work on the areas of your business that is your flame? What is your flame within your business? We've all got a different excitement within our businesses. So how can we free up more time for you to spend in your flame, basically?
Yeah. So I think that's where we're at.
Yes. Good. Well, as I say, you're like many others. So yeah, don't be discouraged. I think there's massive opportunity for you. With AI, if you're willing to learn more about it and adopt it. We're always trying to keep the barrier to entry as low as possible. We don't want you to be using something that is going to be, that you need to learn or you need to spend time getting to know. It should be something that's ready, plug and play, that can help you, with growing the business that we spoke about earlier. So yeah, no, I think that's been very great conversation so far. And I suppose some of my questions would usually be around, like, how are you using AI to tackle certain areas, but I think we've covered most of that in the conversation so far around where you have been using it, which is great. Maybe more in the marketing stuff, and I think where the conversation where the opportunities are for you to use going forward. So I think On the
As those
AI,
are running through my mind right now.
on the AI side, I think there's definitely opportunity for you. But I suppose aside from AI for a second, where are you looking to get this business within the next, say, 5 years? Like, what's the vision? Where do you want to be? Where is Wildcat going to be in 5 years' time?
Yeah, that's a great question. The spirits industry over the last year has been very challenging. A lot of the big companies have experienced loss in sales. Some of that's due to some of the tariffs that have been in place. Some of it's due to younger generation making a decision to not drink. Some of our older drinkers are somewhat set into what they're going to drink. They're not looking at challenges. So the question then becomes, what's realistic for us? Now, kind of interesting, the rum category last year was down 7%. Okay. But my company was up 15%. The hidden number is my company's so small, it doesn't put a dent into what Bacardi or Myers or the big boys are doing. That's really the big box brands and what they're doing. I would like to see us continue to grow at a 15 to 20% clip over the next 5 years. Quite honestly, I think with where we're at, that's low-hanging fruit. I think we can get to that. But I also think that we need to think more outside of the box. Just putting our basic 3 brands. We have a clear rum, which is our base for everything. We have an aged rum, and we have a spiced rum. Just putting the 3 of those brands out and working behind them, I think we need to do more. So we've done a lot more with private labeling projects. We're about ready this fall to launch a co-branding project, which I'm very, very excited about. And so I think continuing to grow the footprint, not trying to get further out over the skis, so to speak, and having good growth patterns rather than looking for that. Well, I need to grow 200% to make this work. I'd rather. I'm more interested in the second and third sales to people than I am the first sales. And so I want to create more depth to our markets with that.
Awesome. And I think something you said, and we've seen it in other industries as well, is you're not going to be able to compete with the big guys, but consumers are looking for alternatives. They're looking for smaller, independent brands that they can buy from. So I think that's where you can win, and that's where I can win with another brand, with a brand I've got. They're looking for independent, smaller brands. So that is our opportunity to build. So, Well, amazing, Doug. Sorry, you're going to add something there, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm a big baseball fan. Okay. And one of the movies I kind of laugh at is the movie Moneyball.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
And he's talking as a small market team, and he says, if we try to play like the Yankees in here, we will lose every single time, paraphrasing that. It's the same thing for us. If we try to play like Bacardi, we will lose. We need to play like Wildcat Brothers. We need to understand our strengths and focus on that. I'm not going to put together a $500,000 Super Bowl event. I'm not. The World Cup kicks off next week here. Yes, I would love to be a sponsor of the World Cup, but I'm not sitting on $3 million to do that. So we have to understand who we are and where we fit into the business model, and really do that very, very well, rather than being something we're not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally agree. And Scotland are making their way over to the World Cup. So, it's good that we're going to be there.
Where do you play your first game?
Boston.
Okay.
Massachusetts. So we've got 2 games in Boston, 1 game in Miami, and then hopefully more games beyond that.
Wonderful. We have a few games here in Houston, so
Yeah.
we're getting all excited. All the banners and posters and welcome signs are going up all over town.
Yeah, no, that would be exciting. That would be very exciting. Well, thanks very much for your time, Doug. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Thanks for sharing, all about your business and your, your use of AI and where there's opportunities. It's been really cool to hear. Where can our listeners find you? Where is the best place for them to find you or the business?
Yeah, the best place is through our website,
Cool.
wildcatbrothers.com.
Nice.
There's links there to our story, our brands, how to purchase it. There's also links where you can get a hold of me or our teammates and such. And we love having people reach out and ask us questions. So that's kind of the fun of this business. It's just having the opportunity to interact with new people. So we like it.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Doug, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.